In this week's workshop, we're taking a look at the Festool Domino Centering Solution and their Domino Alignment Jig to see how they work together to massively reduce the amount of measuring and marking you need to do when you're making cabinets and carcasses. All that's coming up next. You know, every now and then you come across a product that with the benefit of hindsight is so blindingly obvious you kind of smack yourself in the forehead. I wonder, A, how come you never thought of it yourself, and B, how come nobody else has done it before. One of those products was the original Domi plate from Seneca Woodworking. I first came across this in about 2010 and bought mine in 2012, and literally every domino that I've cut since then has been made with one of these. The plate was originally introduced to combat the sort of fence drift that the early dominoes had, and mine was one of them, and is perfect for anybody who makes anything out of sheet goods, 1/2 inch, 3/4 inch, 12 and 18 mil boards, mostly for casings and cabinets, carcasses, that kind of thing. Since then, I don't think there's been a huge amount of development on the Seneca Domi plate, other than slightly begrudgingly producing a metric version. So obviously, like nature, business abhors a vacuum, and there are now probably as many base plates for dominoes around as there are rail squares. So when somebody sent me a video of this one from Festool, I've got to be honest, I wasn't particularly interested in it, but I took a quick look anyway, and I'm very glad I did, because this one has one feature or two features that set it apart from all the others. Those two features are these two little pins in the end of the plate, and they locate into a proprietary guide rail, which means you can put your domino in the same place time after time. Let me show you how that works. So these little pins aside, the domino centering solution is a fairly standard base plate out of the box. It covers 18 and 12 mil thicknesses, but you get a couple of shims with it. Oops, that will, in combination or individually, will cover thicknesses from 12, 15, 18, 22 and 25 mil. When it comes to the alignment jig, it's based around a solid 700 mil by 80 mil aluminium rail. It has a row of holes along each side at 30 mil centers, and it's marked out with a center position and a variety of standard carcass sizes. There's a T-bar which fits over this, which will either go dead on those carcass sizes, or if you flip it around, it will go on the in-between sizes. At either end of the T-bar, there's a little slide out stop so that you can get that accurately against both edges of the rail, and then your domino centering solution pins will fit into the holes at either side of the guide rail. To get the domino mortises into the face of a carcass, you use the domino vertical solution. This is like a souped up domino support bracket, and again it has those pins that just fit in and register where you want them to be. It also comes with a little spacer so that you can set the rail against the edge of your workpiece just to make sure it's absolutely parallel, and then you can clamp that down. That's kind of all there is to it, so let's dive straight in and cut some domino mortises using this whole kit. Okay, so the rail is on. Again, really quick and easy to set up. These little stops slide out, which butt up against the edge. Clamped at the other end. You don't really need to do anything with this. It's important to remember that the plate doesn't actually bear against this at all. The pins register themselves, and there's still a few mil, 3 mil or 2 or 3 mil gap in there, so you're not bearing against this. One thing you do have to watch out for, I found that when I was using it, it's very tempting to grab a hold of the other side of the rail. You can actually pull that out of position if you're not careful, so avoid doing that and you'll be fine. And the other thing to mention is that the plate that I have is an older version. The newer ones are a little bit slimmer because these older ones won't quite get into the end hole, so you can't quite get a domino in at the 60 mil hole. You should come back this way a little bit to the 90, but we'll come back to that a little bit later. But let's cut these 3 dominoes in the edge of the board. Then we'll switch it around and do the face ones. And there you go. 3 dominoes on the narrow setting, no measuring, no marking, all done off a rail. And they went together very, very sweetly. And that's pretty much that. It really is as simple and as straightforward to use as that. There's a couple of things that I want to round up with very quickly. If I haven't mentioned it already, my apologies. FC Tools, of course, is Frank Cochran. You know Frank for the hybrid rail square, probably. Frank is a Glaswegian joiner who started making these bits and pieces for himself and offers them out to other joiners like ourselves to make their lives easier. Links down in the video description, of course, to Frank's website, where you can buy all these goodies and many, many more. And the other thing is one of those kind of elephant in the room things. If you're an experienced domino and domino plate user, then you may well be ahead of me on this one. And this absolutely is not a complaint, it's just an observation. It's all about managing expectations. If you're using a domino plate or even just a board attached to the base of your domino, you're referencing off the face and off the edge. Because we're using 2 different things here, the plate to do the edge mortises and the support bracket, the vertical solution, to do the face mortises, fairly obviously this has to be set to exactly 18 mil, and it is absolutely spot on accurate, but it can't take into account any inconsistencies in the thickness of the material. This board, for example, happens to be about 18.5 mil thick, and that means that there is a ever so slight hairline little lip down here. Now obviously this is designed to be a carcass, so that's the top or the base. That will never ever be seen, and it is absolutely not a problem for me, but I wanted to mention it because I don't want anybody thinking that this is, you know, the perfect solution for every single board. It is the perfect solution for 18 mil thick boards exactly, but as I'm sure you know, that's only ever a nominal size, and sometimes that size does fluctuate, and there's no way to allow for that in this jig. Just putting it out there. As I say, it's not a complaint, just an observation. It's all about managing expectations. That's kind of it, apart from pricing, of course. Yeah, the whole kit, it's available in two versions, with or without the centering solution, the domino plate. Because this is available as a separate product. The whole kit for everything is £360, including VAT. The kit without the plate is £280, including VAT. Now that may seem like a lot of money, kind of half the price of a domino, but just have a think about what the likes of Mathel, for example, charge for just the 800 rail for their duo dialer, which is just an extrusion. I think it's about 240 quid, something like that. So, you know, you're getting a lot more for your money with this. And again, one other thing, I don't know if I mentioned it, there's a little T-slot under the rail here, which will take the Mathel or Bosch skinny quick clamps, the skinny T-clamps, not the rail clamps, just the skinny ones. So again, versatile in terms of your clamping options. But that really is kind of it. Is it for you? I've no idea, only you can decide that. It's probably not for me, to be honest, because I don't really do enough of these cabinets anymore. Go back a few years and I would have been all over this, but I just don't do enough. I'm only ever doing, you know, 1s and 2s these days, and it really is a solution for people who are doing many more than that. You know, guys with 4, 5, 6 carcasses on the go for any one job. Then yes, you can batch out the tops and the bottoms and the sides and the faces and get those cut really quickly and easily. But that's it for this week. I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope you found it interesting taking a look at this domino jig. Even if it's not for you, it's a really, really interesting product, and I would love to see something like this for, let's say, other products that don't have the registration pins. That's it though for now. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Take care.